Everyone, guess what? It's Wednesday night. That means dinner and a story. This one's kind of interesting. I was trying to think of what to title it, and so I decided to kind of look up more information of the story real quick. Just to kind of help me decide, what to name it. And, well, I found some more disturbing news that I didn't know because, well, after someone does something crazy, you kind of don't stay in touch with them anymore. It just, doesn't happen. Well, especially when you weren't terribly close in the first place anyways. So, and, I know, I need to do, and I'm glad I looked that up because I do need to do a little bit better. I should type up my stories or even bullet point them what I want to say. Because last week's story, I forgot, a couple of details. One kind of important one I remember was when Heinz went to the house to see how Heike, because all he did was he got a call from his niece saying, you need to go down there. There's police and news down at this house, and it's either Heike's address or right next door, but we know that's roundabout her address. And so Heinz went down there and tried to ask what was going on, and he told them his name, and they kind of arrested him, took him to the police station, kept him in an interrogation room for over an hour, wouldn't let him know anything. So basically, he doesn't know whether his daughter's dead or alive. He doesn't know what's going on. He just knows that he was told by his niece to go down there and check out the situation and make sure Heike was okay and the baby. And they treated him like a suspect. He was there all night long. He got home in the early morning hours, but to find out his daughter certainly had passed away. So it's just a shame how police kind of, I don't know, maybe that's procedure. Just to us being friends with him, in a way, you're kind of like, oh, that sounds a little rough and excessive, you guys. Because that's his daughter, and he just wanted to know if his daughter was dead or alive. The only daughter that stayed close to him. His other daughter didn't. So, yeah, anyways, this story has only a tiny similarity. The ending, kind of. But, so, when I was young, when I was 9 years old, my mom got this job my mom loves accounting. She got this job at an inventory place. So basically, they go to stores and they do your inventory. They count all your goods for you, and at the end of the night, give you the count. And that's how they know, what they've sold, what they haven't sold. Have items been stolen? Because we have, 10 of this item. It says it's in stock, but you guys only counted 8. Where'd the other 2 go? Because we don't have a sales receipt saying we sold them. Blah, blah, blah. Inventory. Everybody's got to do inventory at the end of the year. Inventory and taxes. 2 biggest things you got to do at the end of the year. However, companies don't do. It's not like, ooh, at the end of the year it is the busiest time. But gas stations and all that kind of stuff, stores, do inventory every quarter. Some do it every month, some do it every quarter, some do it biannual, or, whatever. And when my brothers came of age, my mom got them a job there. And then same with me. When I turned 14, technically in Utah, you can work 20 hours a week. And my mom was like, okay, you're 14. Time to get your first job. So I got my first job at this inventory place. And it was fun. It was cool. I worked there for 3 years. And that's a whole nother story why I got fired for crying after my mom, my supervisor, beat me up in the middle of work. Yeah, I got fired. Me, my boyfriend, my sister, my boyfriend's brother, we all walked out on the job, and they lost 4 employees that day when they fired me, because my boyfriend's like, well, if you're not working there, I'm not going back. And his brother's like, well, if you're not working there, I'm not going back. And my sister's like, I don't give a crap if I have a job, I'm not going back. My youngest brother was the only one who never worked for that company. I think me getting fired kind of killed that over of my mom having kids work at the company. So anyways, my mom worked there for a long, long time. We met this guy, Matt, there. He was a real nice guy. Real shy, quiet. I didn't really get to know him terribly much. My mom kept telling me stories about him. He had schizophrenia. It was well known. But you couldn't tell. I mean, he seemed normal. So this guy, Matt, I think he's like the youngest of 7 kids. He grew up in a pretty okay household in Kearns, Utah. Now, Kearns is definitely known as a place to go get drugs and gangs, and they have their own Kearns Blood Gang. I've come in contact with them, unfortunately. One of them came to a house party I had and grabbed my friend's boobs, and I had to kick him out, and I said, don't bring your gang back here. I'm kicking you out because you can't just go up and grab my friend's boobs. I don't want to see retaliation, because how do you kick a gang member out of your house when they've done wrong? Because my friend came up and said, I can't have this, Rose. He just walked up to me and grabbed my boobs, and I was like, oh crap. Oh crap. It's like, I don't want to deal with this. Oh, so my cousin lived in Kearns too. When I was 10, we moved in with her for 2 weeks, and she sold drugs and did drugs, and it was a bad situation. Her house got raided while we lived there. I mean, Kearns is crazy. You just don't go there. I mean, my husband's sister told me she was scared of me because I grew up in Rose Park, and then she moved to Kearns, and I was like, what? Okay, you're scared of me because I'm in Rose Park, but you went and moved to Kearns? I was like, dude, whatever. She said every time she was the water girl. She failed to tell me that. She's like, when I played basketball with Cypress High every time we had to play a game at West High. I was so scared. And it's like, dude, you were just the water girl. You didn't even have to go. It's not like you were extremely, like, important to the game. So anyways, back to the story. Kearns is a very dangerous place to be from. Very. His dad worked with the railroad. Although his family was a good family, kind of. I mean, overall they were good. They had, I hear their dad was great. I don't know. Their dad worked for the railroads. He had an accident one day. I don't know exactly what happened. He ended up getting, like, I think half his legs amputated or something. It was bad. It was horrible. Now, his family was highly religious. I don't know if I should name the religion because I don't want to get down on it. I mean, I hate when I have to put religion in a story. Or race or whatever. You know? It's not the religion's fault. But in this religion, the mother didn't believe in painkillers. She believed them to be bad. Like I said, they weren't a tip. They weren't into drugs and stuff. Even though you live in Kearns doesn't mean you get into drugs. It's just there is a lot of people down there that are. And so Matt had to take care of his dad, who always screamed in a buttload of pain. But his wife just wouldn't let him have his painkillers. She wouldn't let him have pain relief. For 2 years. I could get this wrong. It's been a long time since I've told the story or heard the story. But it went on for years. And this is what led to Matt's schizophrenia. Nightmares. I mean, it was horrifying to take care of his dad. The other 6 children hated their mother. As soon as they could get away, they got away and stayed away. Matt was having troubles. He had no siblings around. He had his mom who, I mean, she wasn't totally a bad mom. But this is what I say, it's not the religion's fault. It's her personal beliefs. Because everybody can have the same religion, but some people interpret things differently. Like I said, my husband doesn't mind that I'm on, and my dad and everything, that we're in pain. We need some kind of form of pain meds, you know. So you can, but, and just other things. It wasn't just about pain, you know. I mean, she was extremely active in her community and her religion. And she was just difficult to reason and deal with. And it drove Matt crazy as a teenager. he started into heroin. By the time I met Matt, his ears, they were all misshapen and lumps everywhere, and they were like, because he shot up the heroin in his ears. I probably shouldn't. I don't know if I should. I can talk about that on this channel, can I? Is that bad? Because it's part of the story. Do I have to edit that out now? Can I say that stuff? Maybe I should start saying things in a more roundabout way. By the time I met him, he was either getting clean or clean. But he was a nice guy. Very helpful. Very nice. Not hard to work with. Some of these runs we had to go on were travel runs. We would travel hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, north, south, east, west of Salt Lake City. It just depends on whose stores need to be inventoried. I mean, my mom even once got to go to Alaska. They choose the best of the best of the best to go to Alaska. They give them a promotion called Top Gun, and they even get a little sew-on badge to put on their smock, because we had to wear smocks, or more like polo shirts with the company logo on it. What's funny is these clothes aren't attractive at all. These polos. I was wearing a polo one day and a pair of black slacks, and I inventoried Sears on State Street. Now, if you know State Street in Salt Lake City, Utah, well, that's where you can pick up company for the night. So many people were stopping and whistling at me, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm dressed in my work clothes. An ugly shirt, smock, and whatever. I stand on State Street, so I was waiting for my boyfriend or my mom or somebody to come pick me up. They were so late on coming and picking me up. I finally had to walk off of State Street and walk a block down to Main Street, because I was scared somebody was going to try and pick me up. So anyways, he was just really nice. When I was 17, I had my first child. He was there. He came to the hospital. I mean, I let him around my first baby. 5 months later, I married the father. We have video of him, pictures of him at the wedding. I mean, for a couple of years there, he was kind of in our lives a little bit. We would do stuff with him at work and out of work. He just seemed so calm and nice. I mean, he was soft-spoken. I never seen... I mean, I knew he had schizophrenia. I didn't know what schizophrenia meant at that time. I thought that was like one of those, like, diseases you have, or I mean, disabilities you have that makes it so you can't sleep or something. Like, at that time, I wasn't doing psychology. I didn't know what schizophrenia meant. Now I do, but he was just, like I said, a nice guy. But I can't remember if he got fired from the job or what happened. He ended up having to move back in with his mom. I don't know why. But him and his mom don't get along. Nobody really gets along. None of the kids really get along with their mom. That's just the way it is. I don't know. What's up, bub? So, Matt's mom keeps trying to push him to, get a job and get his own place. Go do his own thing. Well, for some reason, he had a fear of leaving his mom's house. He all of a sudden developed a fear of leaving his mom's house. He just couldn't do it. Him and his mom, the neighbors actually witnessed him and his mom in a fight in their front yard about him trying to, she's trying to evict him. She didn't want him in the house anymore. And, he just couldn't turn it. Let's turn it down just a little bit. You can play it, but I just need it down, way down. There. Let me get the settings real quick. We're almost at the end of our story. We're pretty much there. Where's the sound?
Yes.
Oh, audio controls. I'm like, mouse, just move where I need you. Okay. This mouse goes kind of wild on this game. And at this time, I guess, I don't know exactly what was going on with Matt, why he was off his meds. He was fighting with his mom. He just went from being a really nice, hard-working guy to living with his mom and didn't want to be on his meds, didn't want to do what everybody was telling him to do, especially his mom. So him and his mom get in that fight in the front yard. And at this time, Matt's hearing voices. And he decides the only way that he's not gonna get evicted is to punish his mom. So, yes, I just want to bite. I just want to try it. So he fills a bag with paint. Well, with paint in the bottom, so that the bag would fill up with fumes. And he took a rock and he went to his mom in her room, and he hit her in the head with a rock and shoved the bag over her face so that she would inhale the paint fumes. You can get high off paint fumes, apparently. She ended up dying, but it didn't stop there. He broke the majority of her ribs. He broke her spine. He basically continued. I heard he hit her with a shovel 78 times, but that wasn't in the news report. It took a couple days for the neighbors to notice, hey, we haven't seen Joanne in a while, and what's Matt doing driving her car? Because that's a no-no in the fam. They know that Matt and Joanne have a hard relationship, and that him doing something like driving her car, she never loans him the car. So a couple of his siblings go and check on the situation. And they find their mother in her bed. Blood everywhere. I mean, it's crazy because I let this guy be around my infant. He was at my wedding. He came to my baby showers, my wedding showers. I mean, he was almost like part of the family at one point, you know. We allowed him to be around all of us in our family. And then, next thing we know, we're hearing on the news. It's kind of crazy, though. We were a little mad at the news because the news is like, Joanne, a pillar of the community, activist in her church. Everyone loved her. She's so great. You know. And they, of course, villainized him in the newspapers and victimized. I mean, she was a victim. I'm not going to say she wasn't. I mean, death is never the answer for how you feel about anybody. Murder is never the answer. But of course, when someone dies, nobody ever gets up and gives a eulogy of what they really were. The kids aren't going to get up there and say, well, I haven't spoken to my mom really in years because I hate her. She made my dad's life hell and he died in horrible pain. And now my brother has schizophrenia. And I mean, had she not been so strict and a little bit nicer, things could have been different. But, so I went to look up his story real quick just to, and I found out what happened to him was because of him being off his meds, the mental illness and everything. I mean, they deemed him not really exactly capable of murder. I mean, he didn't plan on, ooh, I'm going to kill my mom. He planned on punishing his mom for trying to kick her out the house. Doesn't say that in the newspapers, but it's just being part, you know. And he was just so angry at his mom that he didn't mean to kill her. He honestly didn't. He just voices in his head all the anger he had, the fear he had of, he probably, if she kicked him out, he was going to be on the streets. He had nowhere to go. I don't know if at this point he was back on the drugs or that he knew that that would push him to go back on the drugs. And it was just an insane situation. He ended up getting out in 2021. They put him on probation, halfway house, mental hospitals, did all that. And he got out in Hey, why'd you ruin my bar? Why are you ruining food? Just because we got a bunch of it today doesn't mean that some of it can be ruined. It's wasteful, buddy. So anyways, he's actually back in the court system this year because he followed 2 girls into Highland High, and when the police arrested him and asked him, what are you doing? He said, I need to hurt kids. And I'm like, this is the man I once led around my kids, my family. I have a video of him standing up at my wedding. It's insane. Like, when do you know when somebody's gonna snap and cross that point? I worked with this guy. I hung out with this guy. Like, I didn't learn what schizophrenia was because he didn't really show symptoms. He seemed to be alright. He seemed to be recovering from a really bad life, and he hated that everybody looked at his ears because he regretted shooting. Yeah, regretted doing what he did to his ears. I'm not gonna. He regretted putting stuff in his ears. I mean, if you look at his, if you Google his name, you gotta put, he's got a popular name. You gotta put like Utah killed mother, and then you'll find him. His photo, you're going, yeah, that's a guy that would kill his mother. But when I knew him, he had shorter hair and he was much cleaner looking. And I remember watching my wedding video after he went to jail, and just sitting there just seeing this guy at my wedding going, this is the guy that just killed his mother. How does that happen? How does life go that way? Why did he stop all his meds and refuse treatment and put himself back in a bad situation with his mother? Because he had a job, he had his own place, he was doing good. And then he stopped his meds and put himself with a verbally abusive woman. I mean, it's just all insane. But, and it's crazy to know that, because when I met him, if he seemed pretty normal, after all these, I guess he did also in jail assault 2 other guys, and that's in the psych hospital too. It's one reason why they put him in a halfway house and changed what they were doing. They put him in a halfway house for like 10 years because he assaulted 2 guys there. But then he gets out of the halfway house and he starts stalking children, teenagers at a high school. Luckily, the cops, everybody's got a cell phone nowadays. So, the cops, of course, got called, luckily, and he didn't harm anyone. Because how come he's not normal after all of this treatment? How come he's not the guy I knew? So, it makes you wonder, is he ever gonna be the guy I knew? Or basically, I'm glad I don't know him anymore and I should be afraid of him. What do you do? What do you think? And because if going off his meds made him that way, going back on should have made him better. But yeah, you can Google Matt Kirkham, and there's a lot of news articles on this one. There's a lot of news articles on the last one too. If you Google Heike Poika and Ashley Poika, you'll see that she got arrested for the prostitution ring, and you'll see all the details on Heike's murder and whatnot. So some of these, these 2 stories that I told you, they can be researched on Google. But it's just crazy. And it makes you think, how do you handle people with severe mental disabilities like schizophrenia and stuff? Because they are known to get violent. Like, my mom and everybody made sure we knew it was okay to be his friend. That there was nothing wrong with him. I mean, there was, but there wasn't, you know? I mean, my mom and her coworkers traveled out of town with him and back in town with him and stayed with him on long car rides and talked and whatnot, you know? Not whatnot. But don't say that. But it's just crazy. And it's even crazier to look him up to. And this also makes me wonder, because the guy who killed Heike was also schizophrenic. So it's like are they gonna do the same thing with him? Just treat him in a mental hospital, maybe put him in a halfway house, release him back out into the public eventually? Is it gonna be okay to be released back out in the public? Because obviously I once was Matt's friend, but reading that newer article and seeing that this happened in 2022, I would have to say I don't know if it's okay for him to ever be released. Maybe he should just stay in custody, you know? Maybe he should have to be monitored and treated, because apparently there's only one news article about, okay, he beat up a couple guys in this one mental hospital. But obviously, he spent 10 years in a halfway house and did okay and was released. You know? But then comes out to stalk and hurt. And what does your state do about these kind of people? How do you hold these kind of people? Do we need a specialized, instead of a state hospital, state hospital / prison, you know? Give them a prison room. Don't draw on my paintings. Give them a prison room, but it's run by medical staff, a prison run by guards and medical staff, you know? Do we need a specialized prison just for the mentally ill that should never get back out because they could repeat? I mean, obviously he's reoffending, or more like was caught before he got to reoffend.
Yes.
I think we need to make mental prisons, psych prisons, where they get treated a little bit better than, a prisoner would be treated, because they get better, hands-on medical care, but they're not left up to their own devices, and I mean their recovery is, you got to monitor that they are taking their meds and that they're living, the best life they can, but they deserve some form of prison. Because he didn't exactly mean to kill his mom. I kind of believe that in a way. I do believe he wanted to punish his mom. But those girls, he has no excuse on that one. He was going in there to hurt kids. He was purposely going in there with the intent to hurt people.
Mom,
And so, wow. That's my story. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing it.
we got a bite.
I have more stories for you, but I also, like I said, you can email me at talkwithrose16@gmail.com. Tell me your story so I can air your story on a Wednesday night. What kind of stories do you have that either you need to get out, need to work on, whatever reason you feel that, is it a crooked cop, is it a crooked system, is it, like in Matt's case, his mom was praised in the newspapers after her death, and he was completely villainized. He's a villain now, but he wasn't when I knew him. Or else I wouldn't have let him near my newborn child. And my pregnant self. You know, when I was pregnant before I had the baby. You know, I wouldn't have let him around my baby showers and stuff like that, and my wedding and everything. I wouldn't have allowed him around my friends. But, like I said, I feel that normal people need to get their stories out. Stories aren't just for the rich and famous so we can feel more sorry for them because they're famous and they have things going on in their lives. Real people have things going on in their lives and they're not famous, but you know, people talk about, I wish somebody had told me this story and then I would have, you know, but nobody gets out the truth on anything. And so people go and do stuff because they don't have the truth. They just have what they're being told because whatever reason the person telling them to do what they need to do,
Where's my fish whisk?
whatever, I don't know, whatever their motive is. People have motives.
I was.
But if on the internet you can find a story that matches yours, you could learn from it. You can help another person just by getting your story out there. And I would love to tell your story. Until then, I gotta keep digging through my life. No, I'm just kidding. No, I wanted to get Heike's story out there too. I feel like it should have been out there. I really thought it should. I mean, it got out there if you were in Utah. Everybody in Rose Park knows that story. I mean, after Heike died, there was vigils at that house. Candles, cards, teddy bears, everything. The whole 9 yards. People were driving past and parking and just sitting at the house. I never went. I was too scared to go. I went to her funeral and said my goodbyes and gave a speech at her funeral, and then that's how I honored her. I also told her son to bury her in a 49ers jersey. I said, you are not letting your mom go to her death in a dress. I was like, 49ers or nothing. And like I said, they put her in an unbelievably nice white one. It was beautiful. I mean, it was more beautiful than putting her in a wedding dress, I think. Anyways, you guys have a good evening out there. Watch me game and whatnot more, and join our Tuesday Mad About Marvel. Are you mad about Marvel in a positive or negative way, or both? Let's talk about it. And I'm thinking about opening up a Psych Thursday. What kind of psychology stuff you got, personality type stuff you guys want to talk about on Thursday? Alright. You guys have a good night. Thank you for all the follows. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m., we will read everybody's name, give you shout outs, and it will be the last hour to get your name on the wheel before we spin it at 7 for 3 times. Alright, you guys. You guys just are beautiful out there and just have the best